telegraph and phone, sent an airmail special too. Your answer was goodbye, and there was even postage due. Fell in love just once, and then it had to be with you. Everything happens to me.
But he asked you, what is the role of a producer? What would you say?
Well, Nicky, I think that the funny thing about it is that I've produced 130 whatever recordings, and every single one is different. Every single artist is different, and then every single project by every artist is different. So the role changes from project to project. It's you fill whatever position is required to get the end result. So that end result, by definition, is realizing the artist's vision on time and on budget, is like the traditional, definition of it. But depending on the artist, all of the steps that go into that are all very, very different. So the job itself, in some cases, when I've worked with jazz musicians who have a working band, it's just check out the gigs, take some notes, give them a little input about what tunes to definitely record versus others, set up the session, be involved with the engineer, and be involved in the technical decisions about microphones and setup and all that, overseeing the recording session, giving input about takes, all of that kind of stuff. And then after the session's done, editing and mixing and mastering the project. With other kinds of projects, I work with a lot of vocalists, for example. It could happen a lot sooner. And a lot of the discussion that takes place with those types of artists, and hopefully with all artists, is why? Why are you making this recording? Is it, and if that purpose isn't to document your music in a way that connects with a listener and engages them emotionally, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. Or if that's not the primary reason, then you need to consider your priorities. Documenting your art is a very important thing. But if a tree falls in a forest and no one hears it, right? So if all you're going to do is document something, go ahead and record a gig and you've documented it and stick it on a shelf. But if your goal is what it should be with a recording, which is to reach an audience, there's got to be a process of focus, edit, and direction to document something that's going to move a listener. In particular, a listener who doesn't know the code, a listener who isn't an insider, a listener who doesn't even know you. If you do that, all the people that know you that are insiders will also get it. But you won't be leading with what's most important, which is emotion and connection. So back to there's a lot of other stuff I could rant on about that process, but back to the main point, which is what is the role? That's the basic overall role. I think that one thing I'll answer about this question is about my theory about how I look at what a recording actually is and the 4 elements of record production. There are basically 4 steps in my mind to making a recording. And I'm a big fan of filmmaking, and I'm as influenced and inspired by filmmakers as I am by music. And the great directors all knew this. And basically the 4 steps are script, casting, shooting, and editing, right? And it has to happen in that order. So it starts with script, which is, what is the music you're going to record? What are you making? What story are you going to tell? Once you know that, then the discussion about the casting, which is, who am I going to work with to document these stories and help tell these stories in a way that connects with my audience? In many cases, you already know who they are when you talk about the script, because they might be the people you regularly play with. The other members of the cast, which are a producer, an engineer, those people, they might already be in place. But you have to take a step back from that in the beginning and really, really think about the script. And what is the story I'm going to tell, and how am I going to reach my listeners? Then once the casting is done, so the script, the casting, then shooting in film, which is documenting the music. So then comes that process of, now that I know what it is, now that I know who's going to do it, this is going to be the place and the process I can go through to document this music and make sure that the actual content exists. So I'm going to document the music I need. That could involve live to 2-track trio recording for 3 hours. It could involve 5 days of tracking and 5 days of overdubs. It could involve any number of things. But all of that, as I said, comes from those first 2 steps. It's predicated by what are the stories, who's telling the stories, and how can you best document that emotion and passion on tape, on a drive. Then the editing process, which is editing, mixing, master, which is get rid of all the bad, put all the good up front, and tell the story in the best way so that what's up in front and center musically, and what's front and center audibly is the story that's going to connect. So that's my long-winded answer and diversion to your question.
Not that long-winded. Have you not met me? I ask questions that are so long-winded that the guest looks at me blankly and says, "Can you just remind me what was the question?" I was like, "Yeah, sorry. Should have got."